Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, everyone is excited about the Euros next summer, right? I'm definitely not.
Oh, it's the greatest competition on earth!
Yeah, a lot of weight gets placed on the importance of international tournaments.
Oh, I won't admit Messi is any good until he wins a World Cup.
Lads, let's take a look at the actual standard of the teams at international tournaments. I'm gonna see where each qualified team for Euro 2021 would finish if you put them in the Premier League table with the other existing 20 teams. Considering the ridiculous amounts of money spent by even the likes of Fulham and West Ham, where would these national teams finish when they don't have the luxury of forking out £50 million on a new right back? Right, let's go. Turkey, 17th. Lads, Turkey have a population of 82 million people. That is a pool of nearly 100 million. And yet they're still relying on Everton flops for goals? I'm sorry, but if you have nearly twice the population of England, then how is Cenk Tosun still getting a game up front? To be fair, they have a smattering of talent. With the likes of Juventus benchwarmer Miri Demiral in defence, Hakan Calhanoglu spiking on free kicks from midfield, and I don't know, Kenke's under is a good impact sub for Leicester, I guess. But their preparations for Euro 2021 are hideous. 1 win in 8 games this calendar year, losing to Hungary twice. That's like preparing for a school exam by starving yourself of sleep and romancing your cat. If this team's stuffed with players from the Turkish league, a division where 35-year-old Demba Ba is still regarded as a goal-scoring threat, if this Turkish team were in the Premier League, they'd be avoiding relegation by the width of a pigeon's ding-dong. Italy 11th. It's kind of sad that I don't think that a country who's won 4 World Cups would even be able to finish above the likes of Burnley. But lads, the Italian football team is stuffed down a well. Face up, they didn't qualify for the last World Cup, and even we, Ireland, beat them in Euro 2016. They're coached by Roberto Mancini, who's nearly in his 60s. Yeah, he might have been a decent manager in 2012, but there's a reason you don't see Rizzle Kicks headlining Glastonbury, or see people dunking buckets of frozen water over their skulls. Things move on. In the past, the Italian team was stuffed with world-class footballers. Now you've Alessandro Florenzi, Jorginho, and an actual player called Kevin Lasagna. It's sad. Mario Balotelli should have his name stamped all over this team. He should be their best player. Instead, he's 30 and receiving job offers from Barnsley. To be fair, they have enough strength in midfield and enough attacking talent to finish halfway up the Premier League. But they have an aging defence, and honestly, the likes of Southampton, West Ham and Aston Villa all have stronger squads than Italy, which is just mental. I know Italy are unbeaten in 22 games, but lads, beating the likes of Moldova, Estonia, Armenia and Liechtenstein, he's like me going down the local park to wail on toddlers. Or like someone thinking they can call out Conor McGregor based off the fact that he outboxed a basketball player, a FIFA YouTuber, and Deji. Wales 19th. Yeah, sorry Wales, but you would be relegated from the Premier League. Yeah, I know your captain is another world star, but that's the only reason I'm not putting you rock bottom. You have a defence mixed with Championship Deadwood and Tottenham substitutes. Yes, Harry Wilson and David Brooks are decent midfielders, but they were also relegated with Bournemouth last season. Who else? Johnny Williams of Charlton, a Daniel James who hasn't scored a league goal since August 2019. Yeah, the likes of Aaron Ramsey, Rabi Matondo and Bale are all pretty good, but any team relying on Kiefer Moore for goals up front is getting relegated without a prayer. Switzerland 18th. Yeah, things don't look good for Switzerland right now. Winless in 7 games, they stuttered their way through their qualifying group. Their best players are an out-of-form Fabian Schär, a bench-warming Jordan Shaqiri, and a Granit Xhaka who's probably secretly praying for Thomas Partey to get hit by a moving taxi. Yes, Benfica's Haris Seferovic is a goal threat up front, but who's his backup? Breel Mbolo? Albion Ajeti? You know, the West Ham flop now at Celtic? Lads, this squad will be relegated as well. Denmark 13th. Listen, Denmark are a good team. Don't forget they won at Wembley 2 months ago, something I would give my left kidney for. But lads, it's also an unbalanced squad who would finish halfway down the league. Yes, on one hand, it's a solid midfield. Thomas Delaney, Christian Eriksen and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg are all in solid European competition with their clubs. Yes, Kasper Schmeichel is a reliable goalkeeper, and they have a decent-ish defence, but where are the goals coming from up front? Yusuf Poulsen is a one-season wonder at RB Leipzig, Andreas Cornelius is a Cardiff flop, and Martin Braithwaite is a Barcelona joke. If you want to finish in the top half of the Premier League, you need a competent goal scorer. 13th at best, Finland 20th. Listen, something weird is happening in Finland right now. They just won 4 games in a row. They beat us twice, keeping 2 clean sheets. Twice, not even able to score against a Finnish goalkeeper in 180 minutes of football. Excuse me while I drink a pint of petrol. But lads, they also won 2-0 in France, and they've qualified for the first ever tournament. This is some sort of wet miracle. But sorry lads, there is still not one current Premier League team you'd finish above. Not even West Brom. It's a squad mostly filled with players from the Finnish league, like Daniel O'Shaughnessy. Yes, we're all living in a world where Irishmen, legitimate Irishmen, would now rather play for Finland on our national team, and he used to play for Brentford as well. Oh, it's almost as if this guy is begging me to a Declan Rice video on him. What else? Their midfield is unremarkable. Players from Larissa, Rangers and Minnesota United, with their only goal-scoring threat being the same guy who finished bottom of the league with Norwich. And lads, they would lose nearly every game, being the worst Premier League team of all time. Belgium third. Okay, now we're talking. Lads, with all the millions of pounds spent in the Premier League, it would take an outstanding golden generation of footballers in a single country to come with even a sniff of a title race. It would almost take superhuman sperm to produce a squad capable of matching the likes of Liverpool and Man City. Belgium are almost there. Yes, it's a star-studded first team, with Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Dries Mertens, Yuri Tielemans, but I'm sorry, in comparison to City and Liverpool, their squad depth is pretty bad. For example, they have not one, but two Crystal Palace strikers in their squad. Nasser Chadli, the West Brom flop, he's on the bench. Yannick Carrasco, whose hunger for the sport was clearly diluted in China. Man City have Bernardo Silva on the bench. Belgium have Leandro Trossard. It's a good enough first team to finish third, but they'd still finish at least 15 points away from first place. Because I'm sorry, I cannot claim to have a working brain with all the electrolytes still in place, but at the same time, also tip a former Wigan coach to finish above Pep Guardiola. I just cannot do it. Russia 19th. Listen, Russia were a surprise team in the World Cup, yes, but they've been utterly pig-sick in 2020. They've looked like they're paralysed with fear. You'd swear Vladimir Putin had each one of their wives at gunpoint. They haven't won any of the last 6 games, and 2 of them were goalless draws with Hungary and Moldova, and one of them was a 5-0 spanking away at Serbia, a country who just lost the penalty shootout against Scotland. This Russian team is mostly filled with players from the Russian Premier League. You know, a country whose best teams are routinely used as dish rags in the Champions League. I'm sorry, but if you're still wheeling out a 37-year-old Yuri Zirkov at left back, you are not surviving in the Premier League. Netherlands 8th. Why? Why did Holland give the manager's job to Frank de Boer? What an utter waste of talent. Who replaces a Barcelona-bound coach with statistically the worst coach ever seen in the Premier League? Yes, he did well at Ajax, but it's a bad sign when you last to combine 6 months at your next 2 jobs. And Christ above, he was recently sacked in the MLS with Atlanta United? I'm sorry, how do you get sacked in the MLS? That's a division where Bob Bradley has found employment for 40 years. Yes, it's a better squad than what he had at Crystal Palace, but still, tactically, he'd be eaten alive in the Premier League once again, purely based on the talent available to him. I'm predicting barely top half. If they had a manager like Mourinho or Pep, yeah, they'd be challenging for their league title, but under De Boer, 8th at best. Ukraine 12th. Ukraine don't look too good this year. Yeah, they beat Spain in the Nations League, but 5 defeats, including a 7-1 thumping by France, but they are a decent team. I mean, you know, they finished above Portugal in qualifying. But this team is basically Shakhtar Donetsk minus the Brazilians. And even then, you've still got Junior Moraes. There's no real standout star. They'd probably end up about halfway down the league. But considering the pots of cash chucked around the division, with even Newcastle and West Ham investing in £40 million strikers, then 12th probably isn't bad. Austria 18th. For some reason, Austria are good right now. 6 wins in 2020, great. But no, they would still be getting relegated from the Premier League. Yes, David Alaba is a world star, but lads, the rest of the team are Bundesliga also rans. The captain Julian Baumgart-Linger is past his best, and Marko Arnautovic is washed up in China. Marcel Sabitzer does not score enough goals for RB Leipzig, and I'm sorry, but considering the competition in the Premier League, they will be relegated. I'm sorry, but you would. North Macedonia 20th. Let me get this straight. Ireland are not at the Euros, but North Macedonia are. No, not even the full Macedonia, just the north. They have a population of 2 million people. Somehow there's been a resurgence. But even still, this team would be utterly ripped to pieces. Their best player is Egan Elioski, the boy band looking Leeds midfielder who provoked a headbutt from Pepe. And they're captained by a 37-year-old Goran Pandev. Oh yes, he's still alive. He's essentially the footballing version of a vampire. When that's your main source of goals, a guy approaching his 40th birthday, lads, they wouldn't get a win all season. England, second. Lads, if you want to talk about strength and depth, England have it in spades. They have 3 top quality goalkeepers, about 7 top class right backs, a midfield littered in talent, and when you have 20 goal a season strikers warming the bench, with the likes of Raheem Sterling not even assured a starting place, Gareth Southgate has a ridiculously talented bunch. Most countries have unbalanced top heavy squads, but England are strong in literally every position on the pitch. There is no real weak link. Purely based on their strength and depth, Christ above, Tammy Abraham is about 5th choice striker. Trent Alexander-Arnold can't even get in the team. Oh lads, they'd finish second, but not first because I'm sorry, Gareth Southgate is not winning the Premier League. Croatia 15th. I know what you're thinking, it seems weird to tip Croatia to finish 14 places below England, right? Well lads, 2 years is a long time in football. They've been largely wet parts since the 2018 World Cup, squeaking out just 1-goal wins over Jordan, Azerbaijan and Georgia. Since that World Cup final, they've been battered 6-0 by Spain, lost to Hungary and Tunisia, conceded 7 goals in 2 games against Portugal, conceded 6 in 2 matches against France, conceded 3 away at Turkey, they lost to Sweden. Lads, that World Cup final scrambled their brains. Wake up, Luka Modric is 35 years old now. Their best defender was dominated by Troy Deeney last season, and they have a Luton Town goalie on the bench. Up front, Andrej Kramaric and Ante Rebic are pushing 30 years of age. Ivan Perisic is nearly 32. Lads, this is a talented team, but it's too old for the Premier League. Things will get ugly fast. Scotland 19th. In comparison to some of Scotland's pudding squads in years gone by, this one is comparatively filled with other superstars. They've arguably 2 of the best left backs in Europe. John McGinn, Stuart Armstrong and Scott McTominay are proven Premier League mid-table standard midfielders. Yes, their forward line is a big lump of cow sweat, but apparently Che Adams is getting called up soon. Chuck in service from Ryan Christie and Ryan Fraser, and it's not a bad starting 11. It's just over the course of the season, when injuries take their toll and suddenly you have Grant Hanley, Oliver Burke and Lawrence Shankland stumbling onto the pitch, that's when your team runs out of gas by February and gets relegated. Czech Republic 20th. Lads, what happened to Czech Republic? When I was growing up, they were arguably the best team in Europe. Pavel Nedved pulling strings in midfield, Milan Baros another goal machine up front, Thomas Rodsky an up-and-coming midfield talent, the world-class Petr Cech in goal. Now they're losing home and away to Scotland in the space of 5 weeks. They lost 5-0 against England last year, they lost at home to Northern Ireland and were recently beaten by Kosovo. Just utter nonsense. When did the kids stop playing football in Czech Republic? Did they all now just sit on the couch eating cheese puffs whilst playing Minecraft? I mean, what's going on? It's sad to see their squad now, mostly filled with players from Sparta and Slavia Prague. Their only Premier League representatives are Thomas Souček from West Ham and Mataj Vydra from Burnley's bench. Pavel Nedved is 48 years of age and probably gets a stitch fetching the morning paper, and yet he'd still probably make this team. Without a single top-class player in their squad, they would finish bottom. Spain 5th. Let's be honest, Spain have been mostly terrible since their golden generation. For the last 8 years, they've done nothing. Just like One Direction, they had 4 good years before giving up, but they've since refreshed and now have an exciting young squad blended with experience. Sergio Reguilon, Marco Asensio, Rodri, Adama Traore, Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres are all under the age of 25. Chuck in older heads like Sergio Ramos, Thiago Alcantara, Koke, David De Gea and Sergio Busquets. It's a damn good team, but still, their only out-and-out centre forward is Alvaro Morata, so 5th at best. Sweden 19th. Yeah, Sweden aren't having a good year. That's 6 defeats from the last 8 games. Their best defender is Victor Lindelof, and he's surrounded by the likes of 32-year-old Martin Olsson, a 33-year-old Michael Lustig, and a bang-average Emil Kraft. Oh, and good old Pontus Jansson. That's a backline which will be ripped apart in the Premier League. Yes, Emil Højsberg from RB Leipzig is a good midfield addition, but a 35-year-old Sebastian Larsson is not. He hasn't been good enough for the Premier League for at least 5 years. Who's up front? Marcus Berg of Krasnodar, John Guidetti, Henrik Larsson's son? It's a bad sign when a 39-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic would still be this team's best player. Surviving just 1 season in the Premier League would be a goddamn miracle for this bunch. Poland 17th. If you want unbalanced squads, look no further than Poland. It's a team where Kamil Grosicki of West Brom has 80 caps. Then there's Matthijs Klich of Leeds, arguably the deadliest striker on the planet, stuffed alone up front. Lads, over the course of a 38-game season, playing against club teams who've shelled out £300 million to improve their defence, and you're still relying on service from championship standard players. Lewandowski would be lucky to score 10 goals a season, but crucially, he would score enough to keep them up. But only just. Slovakia 20th. I'm sorry, but how have Slovakia qualified for the Euros? They needed penalties to beat my shambles of a national team, and they needed extra time to see off Northern Ireland. They don't belong at the Euros. That ramshackle squad is championship standard at best. Listen, Milan Skriniar is an opposing centre half for Inter Milan, sure, but they're relying on creativity from a washed-up Marek Hamšík who's stuck in Chinese relegation battles. They have a non-existent forward line and will be embarrassed by Spain next summer.
Oh, Irish guy, you're just salty.
Yes, I am. Hungary 20th. Listen, Hungary are in great form. Just 1 loss from the last 8 games. And not just that, this is a country who sat out 10 international tournaments in a row, and now they just qualified for the last 2 European Championships. But no, this squad might be able to beat the likes of Bulgaria and Iceland. But in the Premier League, they'd be found out by Christmas. Portugal first. I know Portugal won the Euros last time out, but I'm sorry, this current team is even better. Sure, Ronaldo's old now, but it doesn't matter. He's still a goal machine. Give him service from the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Neves, Chuck in João Felix, Diogo Jota, even Pedro Neto. And there's midfield talent in the likes of Daniel Podence, Andre Gomez, João Moutinho, Renato Sanchez, Ruben Diaz and João Cancelo at the back, the reliable Rui Patricio in goal. Over the course of 9 months, I think Ronaldo would drag them kicking and screaming into first place. France first. And this French team is probably the most expensive international squad of all time. No wonder they're world champions. A solid pair of hands like Hugo Lloris in nets. Then in defence, Rafa Varane, Dayton Upamecano, Benjamin Pavard, Luca Digne. That is a title challenging back four. In midfield, Paul Pogba alongside N'Golo Kante, forward players like Anthony Martial, Antoine Griezmann and Kylian Mbappe, strength and depth like Marcus Thuram, Kingsley Coman, Nabil Fekir, Florian Thauvin, and maybe even Alan Saint-Maximin. Coached by an experienced Didier Deschamps, I think Mbappe would fire them to the title as well. Germany sixth. Germany have gone stale. World champions in 2014, now they're getting slapped 6-0 off Spain. But that's usually what happens when you have the same manager saying the same thing for 14 years. Put them in the Premier League, they'd be like Arsenal under Arsene Wenger, with the German fans begging their FA to dump him in a ditch. This year alone, they've conceded 3 goals at home to both Turkey and Switzerland, and Ferran Torres used their dignity as a dish towel. And yes, they still have some world-class talent, and a front line of Timo Werner, Serge Gnabry, Ali Rassani. They would rip any defence to shreds. But their defence is weak, Lowe's methods no longer work. No, 6th at best. Anyway, that's the end of this. Let me know, where do you think your national team will finish on the Premier League? Have I got this completely wrong? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.